I want to sing you a song that's real special to me. It was written about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And I want to tell you just a little story behind it before I sing it. Have you ever had a year where just everything happens wrong at the same time? Anybody ever had a year like that? We had one of those years, 1992. And my wife and I call it our year of sorrows because it was just an accumulation of one sad thing after the next. It started out with the death of my father, who was just a wonderful man, a godly man. I was in the room with him when he died. My wife was facing some potentially serious health problems at the time. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was a burnout pastor. I was in the middle of real burnout. Our church has just been a wonderful church, and it was in the middle of some real division. And then the summer of that year, my wife had her third miscarriage. And I remember praying for that little child for months, that God would keep it in her womb and would let us have that child. And I remember when I got the call that my wife had been taken to the hospital and I needed to come on up and meet her right away. I remember racing to that hospital and just praying my heart out, God, we really want that child. I remember walking in the door of that hospital room, and my wife turned to me and she said, "Do you know yet we lost him? He was a little boy." And she said, "The nurse wanted you to see him if you wanted to." And there, lying on a little pillow, was my 13-week-old unborn son, and he was about the size of my hand. And I remember holding that little baby in my hand and looking up at the ceiling and just crying out to God and basically saying, "God, I love you. I've loved you since I was a child, but I just don't understand you. I don't understand what good could come out of this at all." And you start feeling like, well, aren't I serving you, Lord? Aren't I doing my best for you? Why one more blow? And that blow sent my wife and I both into a real season of discouragement and depression and things that I'd read about the long, dark night of the soul, where the Bible says God is there and yet you can't feel him anywhere. We went through that for a few months, and I was pastoring a church, like I said, and I took a sabbatical from pastoring for 6 months. And I just wanted to be alone with God, just wanted to get through this thing. And what I started doing was playing the piano again. For hours at a time, I would go down and I would just play the piano. And that was real therapy for me. And one day I found myself playing a song, and I had never heard it before. And after a while I realized I had never heard it before because I was in the process of writing it at the time. And took a while for me to catch on to that. But I remember finding myself singing in my deep discouragement, "The anchor holds, though the ship is battered." And that's just how I felt at that time. The anchor holds, though the sails are torn. I have fallen on my knees as I face the raging seas, but the anchor holds in spite of the storm. And after a while I had this long song. It was like 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 12 minutes long. And I really thought it was just something that helped me through a hard time. It really did help me. And through a set of circumstances, I went up and saw Ray Boltz in concert up in Maine. I was living in Massachusetts at the time. And we began to just chat about the last year, and I told him it's been a rough year. But God has helped me through a song he gave me called "The Anchor Holds." And a few months later, Ray gave me a call and said, "Would you care if I recorded it?" And here's a world-famous singer now. He's not the kid stumbling down the steps at the coffee house now. He's this world-famous singer. And I don't have a job anymore. I've resigned from pastoring. And I'm thinking, how am I going to ever make a living? And Ray calls me. And I said, "Ray, you can sing it, but it's a long, long song. You can do whatever you want to with it, but I know it's too long." And Ray took that song and broke it down into something that would work. And he created a bridge and collaborated on it and came up with the version that we hear today. And he recorded that song, and I just want to tell you that when he went to put it on the radio, he at first was met with less than enthusiastic reception. I guess the first time around they didn't release it. And Ray, God bless him, went back and said, I really want you to reconsider this song. It seems to have an effect on people when I sing it. And they humored him and put it out, and you know, that's the rest of the story. That we're still singing it today. But I want you to know that that song is coming from way down in my heart. It was not an attempt to rhyme something and create something that would sell. It was coming from my deep inner heartbreak and brokenness. And I want to sing it to you tonight. Maybe you're sitting here and you're going through a storm. There is life after the storm. There is an anchor, and it really does hold. And I want to sing it, as Frank Sinatra would say, my way. I have journeyed through the long dark night, out on the open sea. By faith alone, sight unknown, yet his eyes are watching me. The anchor holds, though the ship is battered. The anchor holds, though the sails are torn. I have fallen on my knees as I face the raging seas. The anchor holds, in spite of the storm. I've had visions, and I've had dreams. I even held them in my hand. But I never knew those dreams can slip right through. Like they were only grains of sand. Now I have been young, I am older now. There has been beauty these eyes have seen. It was in the night my life. Oh, that's where God proved His love to me. And the anchor holds, though the ship is battered. The anchor holds, though the sails are torn. I have fallen on my knees as I face the raging sea. Yes, the anchor holds in spite of the storm. I have fallen down on my knees. I have faced the raging sea, and the anchor holds. The anchor holds. The anchor holds.